Good afternoon. Well, I can't explain how excited I am to be here. I literally, the past couple of weeks, I've been, just so hyped up to speak with you guys because there's so much awesome things that happened this summer, and you guys were the ones who supported me. You guys were the ones who sent me, and I'm just really excited. So,
Okay.
let me get my notes out.
Thanks.
So, I wanted to explain three things while I was here today. I wanted to explain why I left and was gone for almost 2.5 months, and what I did, and what now. So those are the three things that I'm hoping to explain during this time. And so to get started, why? In order to understand why, you have to go back to when I was probably 5, 6 years old. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I remember the day very clearly. And we came back from church. It was a Sunday afternoon. We were playing. I was playing with my brothers. I was out in La La Land, just having a good time. And this thought pierced me just as I was playing. And the thought was, this Jesus that I hear about at church, that my parents teach me about, that I know all about him, I don't really know him. And I want to. So that day, that very minute, I ran into the kitchen. I was like, Mom, Dad, would you guys pray with me? Because I want to receive Jesus. And I remember being on a piano bench, my feet not even being able to hit the floor, and praying to ask the Lord to be the Lord of my life and the Savior of my life, and putting my trust in him. So everything that happened this summer, everything that I did, was driven by that faith in Jesus. And sure, we did a lot of good things. We served a lot of people. We did a lot of good things. But the reason I went wasn't to do good things, or just to have a good experience, or just to have an experience traveling and stuff like that. That's not the reason I went. The reason I went was because of the scriptures and what it means to me, and what I found Jesus to mean to me, and wanting to share that with others. So that was the reason, and specifically how going to the experience happened, what happened to bring me to that point, is a long story for another day. I'd love to share it with you guys sometime. It's a really cool story, but for the sake of time, I'll move past that. While I was gone, I did take over 2,000 pictures. So I was thinking we could go through them really fast. Only spend 30 seconds on each one, and we won't be here for too long. So. No. So let me explain a little bit more about what it was that I did. The Experience was the name of the program. Forge was the ministry that put it on. They're out in Denver. And they have speakers, pastors, missionaries, authors from all across the country that they send to different events, conferences, and churches to speak. And then they also have different equipping programs. So the Experience, the one I went on, was their largest one, where they take young adults for 2 months and they just pour into them. And they also have some youth. They have some youth ones, and then they have a family camp as well. So, but what we were on was called the Experience, and there were 22 young adults from all across the country, different denominations, very different backgrounds, and they brought us in. The first couple weeks we got teaching from their speakers. So really powerful message, solid doctrinal teaching. And this is a picture of us. We went for a couple days we'd be in the classroom and just like really intense classes, and they'd take us, okay, we're gonna go for a hike, and they take us on top of a mountain, and then we do a message up there instead, just to get out and see God's creation and stuff. And so that's just us. I took a picture of a bunch of us sitting down with our notebooks, and okay, you could go to the next one. Okay, they split us, 22 of us, into 3 teams. So the one team went to Haiti, another team went to Mexico, and my team went to Honduras. So from left to right, Alyssa she's kind of from all over the place. Her father was a chaplain in the army, so they moved around a lot. Right now she's living in Denver. Chelsea's from Georgia, Kersha's from Nebraska, Annie's from Indiana, Keegan's from Missouri. I don't know where that guy's from. Michael's from Denver, and David is from Haiti. He was able to come to America just for this program, so it was really awesome. He spoke French, Creole, English, and Spanish, so he was a huge asset to have with us during the summer. You can go to the next picture. Forge seeks to train you and really gives you solid Bible teaching, but unique opportunities as well. So we'd be doing the classes, and they'd be like, oh, somebody special is coming for dinner tonight. And we're like, who is it? And they had this biker club come. It's a Christian biker club, and they're called the Soldiers. And they come up with their Harleys and their big bikes, and they pull in, and we're like, who's this? And we spent a meal with them and got to know them. And they're believers who want to minister to the 1%er biker gangs, the Hells Angels, and other biker clubs like that. And those guys will never step foot in a church. They're kind of outcasts in the Christian society. But these guys, they go and they hang out with them, and they get their respect because they're those kind of guys as well, and they have their own club and they follow the same rules. They're different, and this guy shared a really neat story of those biker clubs. They respect them more than other Christians because they went the extra mile to relate to them, and they're sort of like chaplains for them because they know they can always go to them. So one of the clubs, when somebody had died, the club leader called them up and said, can you show up tonight? I'm going to break the news to the guys. And they came in, and they were able to just be there for them. So we got to meet and hang out with people like that, unique people like that. So I just took a picture with this guy who's really awesome. You can go to the next slide. So this is another picture of us, the guys for Honduras. They split the guys and the girls into fellowship groups so that we spent a lot of time together and did a lot of devotionals together and were accountability partners to each other. So we really got to know each other well. The great guys. If you go to the next slide. So we did a lot. The first couple weeks was like really intense training, and then we'd spend a day where like they'd have a Sabbath, and we'd just go somewhere really cool and just have some time to have a blast, spend time with God. This was just one of the parks we went to in Colorado. A lot of boulders, a lot of climbing, a lot of hiking, and then we were able to have some just time let loose and spend some Sunday time with God, and it was really cool. Had some really cool intimate times with God and reading His Word, and they taught us this unique thing. I'd never heard of it before. I thought it was kind of crazy at first, but they were like, okay, we're gonna do something special. You each are gonna have a date with God. I'm like, what? Like a date with God. And we did this a couple of times throughout the summer where there was some special place that we went, and we just went off with God and just had some awesome time with him. You could make it whatever you wanted to, and the point was just to enjoy God and to spend time in his word, spend time worshiping, spend time, bring your favorite food, have it with them, whatever, just to have extended time with God, to enjoy God. And one thing that kept teaching us was the greatest gift you can give the world is your own intimacy with God. And we can go out and we can do these great things. We can go out and help a lot of people, whatever, but it's never going to mean anything unless you're close with God and you're filled up and you're intimate with God so that he can use you personally. So, yeah, you can go to the next slide. Okay, this needs a little bit of explanation. For the Stranded thing I went to last summer, and Forge are affiliated ministries, and they do the same thing where they have you pray for a name for the Lord, a name, kind of like a predictive name to aspire to, something you want the Lord to really, something unique to define you, of how a name that the Lord's put on you. And I felt powerful weakness was the name I chose, because as a guy, I'm constantly trying to figure out things myself, relying on having everything together myself. And I realized that some of the greatest times I've seen God move is in my weaknesses, and when I'm the weakest, and when I'm not relying on myself. So powerful weakness is the name. So they have a wall in Nebraska for Stranded. They have a wall where it's just names for all these people that have come through and written their names on it. So it's really cool to go through and see all those names and pictures and things like that, and I wonder, these people, they put a Facebook page together too, and it's really cool because someone's like, oh, I'm going to the Middle East next week, can you pray for me? Oh, I'm over in the Philippines, and we need prayer for this. And it's just really cool because it's like a community where people are doing great things for God and feel humbled to kind of be able to be a part of that and be praying for people and to get to know people like that. So that's explanation. The verse on there is 2 Corinthians 12:9. It's when Paul wrote, and he said unto me, when Jesus appeared to him, he said, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in your weakness. Most assuredly, therefore, would I glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. So, you can go to the next slide. This was our team just before we were heading off to Honduras. So, we were getting on the bus to go to the airport. And that's Lauren, our guide leader, and Laura, our female leader. And Lauren's son, Jonah, came with us on this trip as well. So you could go to the next slide. This was the first place we went in Honduras. So we flew into I can't remember what the airport was. But we took a 4-hour drive to get to Copan, which is in the northwest. It's like a region in Honduras, and this was a city kind of up in the mountains. So you go to the next picture. Just a couple of pictures of kind of what it looked like. You go to the next one. This was, so the first few days when we were there, we would get into the back of a pickup and drive sometimes 45 minutes, sometimes a couple hours to different villages. You could go to the next slide. So this is a road this is a road that sometimes it'd be gravel, and then you're getting closer to the villages and they're dirt, and sometimes you're crazy. So this doesn't even look like a road, but it was a road. You could go to the next slide. My camera was dying just as we were getting to this village, so this was the only picture I took of the first village we went to. But it's a house right on the hill. You could go to the next slide. So we got there, and a lot of times we'd go to the school, and we'd sing a song for them, and they'd sing a song for us. You go to the next slide. Right here, they were singing a song for us, performing for us. It was a big deal that we came. When we came up to this village, all the kids were like looking at us. We got out of the back of the truck, and they start running. And we're like, why are they running away from us? And we found out later, the only time they'd seen white people was when the doctors came to give them shots. So they thought we were coming to give them shots. So they're all running away from us. But they warmed up to us eventually. We'd end up playing, we'd bring a soccer ball and play games with them, and we spent a couple hours playing with the kids. And usually when we had a school setting when they're all together, we'd be able to share the gospel with them, and then we'd play with them, and then we'd go with them house to house, talking to their families, praying with them, and sharing the gospel with them. So it was, you can keep going. You can keep going. There are just a few pictures of playing with the kids. Okay, you can stop there. So it was really cool to be able to, not even knowing the language, but to be able to, you could see through the time their kids were really shy, and breaking the barriers down, and then they wouldn't leave. Like they were really afraid to like get close to you. But then when you start playing with them, then they wouldn't leave you alone, and we'd go house to house, and they'd be following us around. But there's this missionary there who's Honduran, and his ministries, he goes and he ministers to these villages, and they're descendants of the Mayans, and they're living out in these villages like really far remote, and they are poor. There's a lot of need, and he's well connected. He knows a lot of government officials and stuff, so he advocates for them, and then he brings them a lot of supplies, so a lot of farming things that they need, seeds, anything, and he gets to know them on a personal level, and then he shares the gospel with them. So he started up, so for a couple villages when we were going, he'd be like, there's only one Christian here. And so we'd go and really encourage them and pray with them. This was one of the villages that they had started a Bible study. So this was their church was somebody's house. And last year, the team that went, they brought chairs so that they'd have somewhere to sit when they come for the Bible study. And we went there, and something really cool happened. We listened to them, and then we were like, oh, can we pray with you? Because we'd always pray, but we'd ask, when we found a believer, we'd be like, can we encourage you, pray with you, whatever? And they were like, yeah. And so we were like, Michael, could you pray for us? So Michael starts praying, and then they all start praying at the same time. Like not even, like, okay, we're praying now. And everyone just starts bursting out praying, pouring out their heart. And like, it really took me back at first, because like we never do that here. But then I was we were praying, and I was like, whoa, like everyone's just praying their heart to God. And I thought it was just a really cool moment, so I wanted to take a picture to share that. But yeah, that's them. You can go to the next one. That's a good group of them with us. And yeah, so that was a cool experience. There were a lot of moments like that were very they were like took you back, and you're like, take in this moment because this is cool. And they tell us how a lot of times they'll have overnight prayer meetings, and they'll just be up all night praying and worshiping. And so there's a lot of need for the church there, for the few Christians who are in these villages and stuff. the missionary, if he's there, he's really spread out and he's doing as much as he can. But there's a lot of need in terms of they can use a lot, but it's not like coming in. We don't want to come in and just throw money at them or whatever. It's you want to come in and support those who are doing the work already. And it was cool because a lot of these they don't have very many Bibles. And we had an opportunity the missionary shared with us, he said, we need some Bibles, and we were able to help them with that. So it was really cool. The whole team pitched in to get them some Bibles. So, because so that was cool. You keep going. Okay, this was just an example, very hilly, very mountainous, and they burn the side of the hill so that they can put, like, terraces and farm on it. So that's their cornfield. That's their farming field. So yeah, you can go on. This was the last village we went to. This was very remote. This is the longest drive to get there, but it had power lines, and we're like, how come they have? And a government official lived there once, so he got power to there, even though it was 2 hours off the main road. And but this was the last day, and we were supposed to have this big meeting there, and I had an opportunity to share. So I got ready, and I got a message ready, and we got there, and nobody was there. It was like, and I found out that they miscommunicated which day we were going to be there. So I was really bummed at first, but it turned out to be one of the best days because we did the same thing where we went house to house sharing the gospel, and 4 people gave their lives to the Lord in that village that day. And we had the church in the town.
Can you just tell us what language they speak?
Spanish.
And how
They
we
speak
were able
Spanish.
to communicate?
We had translators with us, and we had David. David was very much an evangelist.
Okay.
So, and then we had translators with us. So, the church that was in the town, they drove us out there. They had elders there, and whenever they get a chance, this one elder, he'll get dropped off at the main road, and then he'll walk a few hours to get there. And he'll spend the weekend just to mentor the couple Christians that are there. And Caleb Bislow, a missionary that met last summer, he went to this village, and he was one of the first ones there from our group. And there's this one cool story. We went to this one lady's house, and she was really excited to see us. And she said, "You know Caleb?" We're like, "Yeah, I know Caleb." And she's like, "He came here, I think it was like 6 years ago, and her husband used to have a bar in their house, and she goes, Caleb prayed with me, and he said he was going to pray that the bar closed down, and a month later the bar closed down, and my husband doesn't know Jesus yet, but I'm praying that he will." So it was really, really awesome because we saw people gave their lives to the Lord, but we didn't do the main work. Like, there were other people who were investing, and we came in, and we had the blessing of praying with these people, but it was cool. They took down their names, and they were like, "We're going to come back and mentor them," and stuff like that. But it was really cool to see how much sacrifice had been poured into these people, and we were able to just come in and bless the people that were pouring into them, and lead some of them to the Lord. So it was cool. But again, there's a lot of need too. They need a church building. They don't have a church building, so they kind of hop around and find places to meet. And they need. Right now, there are no men who gave their lives to the Lord in that village. So there are only women and children. And so Lord really put it on my heart to pray for a man to step up who can lead the community and lead a church there. So, keep going. This was just a random picture I took. Driving there were these hills that were they're just right there. I was like, I don't know how they got there or what happened. They're just in the middle of nowhere, just a hill like that. I thought it was kind of cool. You can go on. So, like I said, we'd be doing like intense. We'd be going, and then we'd be like, they'd have one day, okay, we're just gonna go have fun. So they had this zip line that was like 1.5 miles through the mountains. So we were able to go on that, and that was awesome. So this is a picture before we went on that. You can keep going. So this is one of my favorite stories. So we were planning on doing something else this day. This was a Sunday. We went to church service, and then we were planning on doing something. I'm not sure exactly what, but our leaders were like, this family invited us to come to their resort. They have a resort up in the mountains, and they want us to come. They want to make a picnic for us and just hang out with us. So we had plans to go do something else, but we're like, let's just go spend time with this family. And the water, we get there, and the water, you couldn't see the bottom of the pool. It was kind of murky, and it was like, everyone looked at the water. We're like, oh, I don't want to go swim in that. We're like, they invited us to come here, and it would be a huge insult for us to. And we're not in showers. You're supposed to keep your mouth closed and not drink the tap water or anything. And then we get to this pool, and we're like, oh, this isn't good. But we were like, God help us not to get sick. And we just went swimming, and none of us got sick. So it was cool. But that wasn't my favorite part. Out of the whole summer, that was like. The night before, I had a really low moment, and I don't remember exactly why, but I came to the realization that that for a long time I'd been performing, and we did this special thing where we took our testimony, and we took these turning points where we thought through our whole lives and wrote down anything and everything that affected who we are. And so there were about 30 different things, and then we charted them out on a chart, a timeline, and high and low moments, and then I got to see a pattern in my life of things happening and whatnot. And the thing I realized was that every time, I know we all hear these voices of whenever you fail, of you're a failure, you're not good enough, and just those voices bombarding. And I always buried them and tried to use them as fuel to do better and to do more but every single time I'd fail at something or have a low moment, those voices would come back stronger, and something happened, something small happened, but I came to the realization those voices came back strong and hard and fast, just trying to get me down of, you're a failure, Pete, you're not good enough, you're never going to amount to anything. And the night before this happened, I didn't feel like doing anything. I usually journaled every night. Didn't feel like doing that. I was like, I feel really down, but I was like, all right, I'll write God a letter, because I never do that. I never really do that at all. I was like, I'll just write God a letter, dear God. And I basically just poured out my heart to him and said, God, I wanted to bring this to you because that's not what, these voices isn't what your word says about me. Your word says that you love me. Your word says that you died for me. And your word says that if I put my trust in you, that I am your child. And I claim that. And right now, to be honest, this is literally what I wrote. I said, I don't feel you right now. It's not like the whole summer wasn't like a complete high and glamour, and I knew that the mission field isn't like glamorous and stuff like that, but I realized, God, right now I don't feel you. It's not, the emotion isn't there. I don't feel you. I feel really down, but I know you're with me, because it was something he reminded me before I left. He said, my name is Emmanuel. I named my son Emmanuel, God with us. And he constantly kept bringing that up. And I wrote, at the close the letter out, I said, God, I don't feel you right now, but I know you're with me. And I thank you for that. And this is the coolest part. So you can go to the next picture. So this is the mother of the family. And she was a believer, her husband was not. We were praying for her husband. I got to share the gospel with him. But she was a believer, and we were like, can we hear your testimony? So we sat down with her. She shared us her story. And she said something interesting. She was saying that God would speak to her to tell her things about other people. And I was like, does that still happen to you? Or like what? She was like, she told us a story about 2 days before we came in town. There was this concert, and she went there, and she was sick and she didn't want to go, but God said, I want you to be there. And she got up, and when she was there, she was healed. And then when God started telling her things to go tell other people, and she would tell them, and they'd give their life to the Lord. And a couple of people got healed from sicknesses. And like 2 days before we got in town, I was like, what? And then she stops and she looks at me and she goes, you have many things in your heart. I'm like, yeah, of course I do. And she's like, no, but there's one that God sees, and he wants you to know he sees. And I'm like, I was really confused. I was like, okay, like, yeah, I guess so. I was like, do you have any more specific, like, do you know what he's saying or whatever? She goes, yeah, you wrote it down. I'm like, last night I wrote God a letter. I never do that. She goes, yeah, he wanted you to know that I didn't tell her anything I wrote in it or whatever. This is her words. She said, I want to let you know that God saw you and that he was with you last night. And I was like, what? So, yeah. So that's one thing that God has continued to teach me and show me, that he is with us even though we don't feel him all the time, that he is all-knowing, he is always there, and we can choose or not to put our faith in him, but I personally am choosing to put my faith in him because he's awesome. keep going on. This is another picture with her, and that little girl right there is another picture of her later on. She was Mercia. Okay, wait, is Mercia in this picture? Mercia was one of our translators. She had gone to the experience a couple years before, and she took off from her work. She took vacation off so she can be our translator. She was so excited for us to be there. But that was her niece. She came with us. She couldn't swim. And we were at the pool, and she runs and jumps in the pool. And Mercia starts screaming, she can't swim! She can't swim! We're like, what? And she just was waiting for us to catch her. She'd just jump in and wait for us to catch her. And then I was scared, so I'd start like following her around, and she was trying to jump in where I wasn't. So she was like, can you catch me or not? She was fearless. She'd just run and jump. But she hung out with us a little bit. You can keep going. Another unique thing, so these were the Mayan ruins. We got to, just for a half a day, go and see, they were undoing some of the Mayan ruins. And so some of the village people were descendants of the Mayans, and it was cool just to see. There are a couple of pictures you could flip through them. One more, I think. It was just kind of cool just to see the history and be like, oh. This was an outpost for they were on a high hill so they can see when the enemy was coming, and they found a lot of there was like a battle there and everything, so they found a lot of weapons and a lot of like bodies and different things, like a big battle had happened there or something. So I can keep on. So when we were in Copan, on top of the hotel was just a roof. We spent a lot of time there worshiping and our free time there. This was David. We were playing worship. I just thought it was a cool picture. If you keep going. So the day, why do I have a picture of a cake? Because it was good. The day we left Copan and we were going to Tegucigalpa, the night before we left, the lady in the hotel, the lady who owned the hotel, and the lady who was making us meals next door, we'd go to her house and we just paid her to make us meals in her house. They both made us a cake. Like we went for dinner and they're like, oh, you're leaving tomorrow, here's a cake. And then we come back and she's like, oh, you're leaving tomorrow, here's a cake. So we didn't eat both of them. We couldn't, we tried. But it was good, so. Yeah, this was Mercia's niece again. She was very sweet. You can keep going. This was Mercia herself. She works, and this is a picture, you can go to the next one. This is a picture of all of us with her. She works with children there, and for an after-school program. So they really try to help the children by helping them with academics and helping them get to a better place, and then they share the gospel with them. They're there with them. So we got to meet those kids as well and hang out with them. That was really cool. You can keep going. So when we went from there to Tegucigalpa, which is the capital city. It was a day drive to get there, 8 hours. And these were our translators there, Eduardo and Joaquin. And they were going to a graduation. They're teachers at an international school. So you can keep going. Keep going. One more. Okay. So the first day we just went to the international school, which is a private Christian school there in Tegucigalpa, and they teach. It's an English school. And so anyone who's wealthy and wants their kids to go to college or come to America for college or whatever, they'll send them there. And so they learn English. It's a private school. So we went the first day, did some painting. It wasn't that they needed a painting, it was that we were able to, it gave us an opportunity to start to build relationships with the kids. And they came with us on a couple of different things that we did throughout the week. And really got to, and I'll share that, there are a couple pictures later. But yeah, can you go back to the other two pictures? Yeah, so we were driving through Tegucigalpa. The roads don't have names. It's like the highways have names. The roads are like, you need to know what you're doing so we're driving through and it's like congested and like poor and everything like that. And then we pull up and they're like, okay, this is where you're staying. And this was a gorgeous house. And there was fenced in and a gate and barbed wire and an armed guard at night walking around. And they go back to the next picture. So this was looking out of the house. So you see the contrast of it was just shacks, really. And then so they have to have the armed guards or else someone's going to break in and try to steal something. So, but I just thought the contrast really got me thinking quite a bit. But the lady whose house it was the teacher for the the owner of the international school. She was gone and she let us stay in her house. So it was for a couple of days and then we went to a hotel. So you can keep going. A little more. So this was a very special day. We got to meet a dog. And yeah. No. We went to this special, really, really cool ministry called the Micah Project. And they work with children. They take homeless children off the streets. And there's a huge need there in the city. And Michael, I believe his name is, the missionary there, he went there like 16 years ago or something like that. And he just got this small house in the city. And he'd take kids in. And he started with that. Now they this past year moved to this facilities outside the city. It's gorgeous facilities, awesome place, lots of space. They take kids in. They give them 10 years of education. They have teachers that come down. They live there. They give them food. They share with them the gospel. And the problem, you can go to the next one. So we went. He's like, you want to go on the water tower? So we're like, yeah. So we climbed the water tower, and this was kind of their facilities there. But a lot of the kids, I forget how many, but like 20 or so, they wanted to keep the ratio between the staff and the kids small so they can really invest in the kids and really make a difference. So some of their kids have gone through college, and we got to meet a couple of them who are out of the program, and it was really cool to meet them. But we got to spend time with the kids and really reinforce what they've been taught about the Bible, and just like invest in them and start to get to know them. We didn't get to have too much time with them because we didn't have too much time, but we went. See what the next picture is. This was the community right outside the gates of their place there. This was a really neat story. The missionary, when there was a hurricane, I think it was like 15 years ago, there was a bunch of people flooded the city, and there were a huge community of people living underneath the bridge by the river, and nowhere to go, nothing to do. And the missionary came to them and helped them get this property outside the city, and they built homes, and then they recently built the new place right next to it. So they're there, the community's there. They built a clinic. They just opened a medical clinic. And if you go to the next couple of pictures, we went to the school there, and it was the end of the day, so there weren't too many kids there, but we just hung out with them, got to meet the principal, who was the leader kind of in the community, and got to play with kids. You could go through a couple. Okay, you can stop there. This was one of the Micah boys who came off the streets. And some of them were older, some of them were older, but I don't remember exactly how old this one was. But a lot of them are young. And a lot of them were addicted to sniffing glue, the cheapest way to get high, forget that you're hungry, and not be so cold. So the trouble they're having is very few of them want to come off the streets because they have to give that up. So a lot of times they have to spend years getting to know them before they're willing to come off the streets and trust them. So we spent the first half of the day with the Micah boys, and then we went on the streets to meet the other boys who were still on the streets. And that was very, I've had experience interacting with homeless people here, but it was so, I wasn't shocked when we got to Honduras. It was, the standard of living was less, but it was like, this makes sense. This is how the rest of the world is. It's not all like America. But when we spent the afternoon, second part of the day, with the homeless guys, some of them were older, some of them were my age, but that was the one thing I think that gave me culture shock. You go to the next one. This was Brian. He was one of them. We went to this square, and they saw that we were there. They saw that the guys from the Micah program were there, and they knew we brought food and water, and so they just kind of came around, and we spent an hour or so just hanging out with them, getting to know them. He's wearing my watch. He wanted my sunglasses. So I was like, okay, yeah, you can have my sunglasses, these ones. And then he's like, your watch, can I have your watch? I'm like, no, I gave you my sunglasses. He's like, I'll give you the sunglasses. I'm like, okay. He felt really good about, oh, okay, I have something to give you. I'll give you the sunglasses, you give me your watch. And they were both $20. It wasn't very expensive or anything, but it gave him, he was excited to have something to, oh, okay, I'll give this to you and have something give back. So you can go to the next picture. There's just a couple of pictures with some of our team with a few of them. You keep going. So this spoke well. I like these next couple of pictures because it really captures well what Tegucigalpa is, the capital city. I don't know how well you can see the picture, but it's very, the houses are on top of each other, on the hills, and it's right in the corner, right up here, is Jesus statue. Huge Jesus statue just standing over the city. And there's another picture of it later on. But you can keep going to, there it is, closer up. And next picture. I really like this picture for some reason. Just it shows kind of the houses and how it is in the city. And it's a lot of people. You can keep going. So this was one of our Sabbaths, one of our days that we were doing ministry. We were working with boys and stuff, and we needed a break. And we spent a Sabbath we went to the coast. We took a boat to an island, a fisher boat. And you can go to the next picture. And we went to an island. You could see Honduras. I'm trying to remember which countries they were. Guatemala and El Salvador. 3 countries, like from the same spot. It was kind of cool. I don't know if I got those countries right, but don't quote me on that one. It was just, so we spent the Sunday hanging out on the beach. And you can go to the next picture. When they had a restaurant there and we had some good food. They were catching the fish like right there and then cooking it up. It's cool. And the next picture. I wish I got another picture of this because in the afternoon there were about 20 teenage boys, guys my age. They just started playing soccer on the beach. And I was like, I'm gonna go play with them. So me and David, we went and we just joined in. And it was really fun. I only played soccer for 1 year, so I'm not that good. But it's just enough so that I can have fun doing it. I can pass, I can run, I know where to be, what to do. And it was an awesome experience playing with them, not even being able to talk with them beyond, hi, my name is, how are you? You know what I mean? But to be able to play with them, and David was like, oh, I was talking to this guy, he doesn't know the Lord. I was talking to this guy, pray for this guy. Did you talk to him about the Lord yet? Did you? And he was very, so we spent probably an hour playing with them, and we couldn't drink the water that was there. So I was extremely thirsty. My water was like really hot by the end of the day, so I had like a little bit of water. Probably really, really thirsty. But as I was leaving, I just took a picture of a couple of guys playing. We got to share gospel with about 5 of them afterwards. And they're like, no, but we planted a seed, and it was really cool. You can keep going. This was a church right in the heart of Tegucigalpa, and we got to spend a couple services with them. This was their youth service. We were able to sing a couple songs for them, and then a couple of our team members shared there. And I got an opportunity later in the week to share. I have a picture. I don't know if it's the next one. No. A little bit later, I have a picture of I got to share in the service. So the same message that I was going to share earlier on, and I was like, God, why, like, there's nobody to share it with. He gave me some people to share it with, so it was really cool. This was us. I'm trying to remember his name. He was one of the Micah boys that had gone through the program and was now through the program. It was really cool to spend the time with him. You can keep going. It's Joaquin. You can keep going. And another friend of me, we can keep going. This was us with machetes, because machetes are awesome. We spent a day, anyone want to guess what we were doing with the machetes? Yeah, Connor?
Maybe like cutting stuff on the grass.
We're cutting the grass because they didn't have a lawnmower. So So we went, this was another crazy day. We spent the morning, we went to this school for mentally handicapped people, and they didn't have a lawnmower, so they needed their grass cut. So half of the first couple hours, half of us went out and cut the grass with machetes, and then the other half were doing crafts with kids, and then we all went and we played games with them. And we went and they were like, oh, these are kids, and we go, and most of them were like in their 20s and stuff like that. But it was cool. Next picture. It was a ginormous frog. Yeah, Mrs. Akasha, that one's for you. It was really big, and I don't know why I put it in the slideshow. I just thought it has no spiritual meaning to it whatsoever. But
Thank you for that.
Well, you know what
I actually brought it home for you. What?
Fully rely on God, yeah.
There we go. Go through a couple. This is with us, with the team, doing crafts with them, playing some games. This is sat here. This is Jefferson. He just like had this huge smile on his face. So it was a hard morning where we were all like exhausted from cutting grass with machetes. Like at home, I'd be using a lawnmower right now. And then we go in, and it didn't seem like we were really doing anything. We were just doing crafts and hanging out with them, and it wasn't like there's only so much you could do. But later on that day, so we kind of left a little discouraged. Like I don't know, like we didn't feel like we were really making an impact or anything, and that the teacher at that school sent a text message to Joaquin, and it was just, she was like, I can't explain how much of a difference that made. They never have anybody just come and spend time with them, and it made such a huge difference. So, so even though we weren't able to go as deep with them, share the gospel with them, this and that, just spending time with them was really special. You keep going. There's one more picture. Yeah. Okay, I took videos at this point, and I wish I had a video up there. I couldn't get it. Off that, we went on a hike. So we went to the school, then we went on a hike, and Eduardo, we're hiking, and we go along the stream, and we're going, and then there's a waterfall, 25, 30 feet, and with the pool, and he's like, okay, you can jump. We're like, say that again? Say what? He's like, you can jump. Yeah, that's okay, you can jump. I'm like, okay, I've never done it. And he's like, I've done it before, plenty of times, it's no big deal. And I took videos, but that was where we jumped from. And it was, if I had been in that situation like a year ago, I probably wouldn't have done it. But it was kind of like, you know what the heck, let's just do it. And a couple of people from our team were like, don't do it. Like we should check the water. We should make sure nothing fell in there, or the water is not the same, whatever. But this one girl was like, I'm just jumping in. And so she went, and then we're like, I guess it's safe to go. Okay. So we jumped in, but it really gave a physical feeling to that step of faith that God asked us to take. Of like, once you put your trust in God, it's not like, oh, okay, you're hanging on. It's not like once you take that step, you're completely relying on God. And just having that physical feeling of this is what it's meant to be like, just to completely trust God and to jump off the ledge. And let me tell you, there's no other feeling I ever felt before like that. And there's nothing like putting your trust in Jesus. He doesn't disappoint you. He proves again and again and again that he is God, that he is in control. And just sending his son to us and proving through raising from the dead. But then if you trust him, he'll prove to you personally as well, as he has to me. You can keep going. This was, so we jumped off there, and we keep going, and there's another deep waterfall, and this was like cliff going down into the into a gully there, into a between valley, and we went around and scaled that to get down, and we went and we had to swim up the stream and go underneath the other waterfall, which it had cut like a huge. It was just a rock, like circle, like all the way down. So you go in there, and it's just a rock wall all the way around. And we had to swim up and get. It was a really cool time of being able to be under the waterfall, and a couple of us got really scraped up going down, but it was awesome. I didn't personally. A couple of people got like really scraped up, and I ended up taking off my shoes because I didn't want them to get wet. So I was going barefoot, and then I didn't get any scrapes or bruises or anything like that. And some other people just it got scraped up, but it was fun. Keep going. This is another picture of Tegucigalpa. It's just massive, massive. Keep going. This was statue of Jesus. We got to go up. You can go on the picture. So we got to go up to the top of the mountain and see and spend time with God up there and look over the city. And I wanted to share with you guys Matthew 9. Matthew 9:35. And Jesus went to all the towns and the villages, teaching in the synagogues, preaching the good news of the kingdom, the healing every disease and every sickness. So he was going around, he was doing the work, he was preaching, he was teaching, he was serving, and that's what we've been doing. We've been going around doing a lot of stuff. But then he had this moment where he stopped, 36. And when he saw the crowds, he felt compassion for them, because they were weary and worn, like sheep without a shepherd. And he said to his disciples, "The harvest is abundant and the workers are few. Therefore pray to the Lord of the harvest to send out workers." It was a time where we had been doing a lot of stuff, and we went up and had a time to stop and be like, "God, where are you sending me?" Because you see the crowds. You see the masses, and it's like, "God, where are you sending me?" So keep going. This was speaking at the church, and Michael was able to speak as well in that picture. It was really cool to be able to share with them. You can stop there. To be able to share with them how God had taken me first to a place that I had never been, and to people that I've never met before, to Denver, to spend time with them, and then with them to a place that I'd never been before, and to people I've never met, to share the gospel, to share this message, and back to that reason why I was doing it, not just to travel or not for a good time, but because of what he means to me. So this was some of the kids from the school. They speak Spanish and English. So they came with us the last day, and we went street evangelizing, and they were our translators. So they put a couple of us with one of them. So it was a Christian school, so they were taught about Bible and stuff like that, but they never done evangelizing or anything like that. So we were sharing the gospel with people, and then they were forced to do that too, and they realized, well, it's not that bad. They're like, we never talk to these people. Like, we're never supposed to be down here talking to these people, being here, and or like we never talk with these people. And it kind of like broke down some doors for them, and we were able to minister. You can go to the next picture. This guy, he was saying how he was lonely, and how he had poured everything into his children. I don't know if his wife had passed away or something, and he poured everything into his children. Now they were growing up, and they kind of left him, and he felt very lonely. And we just got to spend time with him. And the church, we got to partner with the church, so these people we were talking with we were able to give them, the church, their contact information so they could follow up on them. So it wasn't like come in, just speak and leave, or it was very much partnering with people, with churches, with ministries that are there, and so that was really cool. He kept going. There are a few more pictures of people just praying, the team with praying with people, speaking with them. Okay, stop here. This was at night. This is on top of our hotel. Just had another really cool moment with God, just like sharing, like just praying, like, God, where there's so many cities like this, so many nations, so many people who don't know your word, and who haven't experienced you as I have, and I want to share it with them. Are you calling me to here? And I didn't necessarily feel him calling me there, but just have a heart to keep sharing with people. So keep going. This was back. We're back in Denver now, and we were camp counselors at a youth camp or at a family camp they have in the Rocky Mountains. So this was a hike that I took, and I was just on top of a hill, and it was a YMCA camp that we were at, and just beautiful time. This was on one of my dates with God, just spending time with God. It was awesome. That week was all the speakers for the organization, they had two messages that they could share that week. So it was like, it's like a climax for their ministry every year. They bring their best message, because each of them are like working on their messages and like bringing their best. And it's a powerhouse of just like awesome message after awesome message. And some really awesome things were happening. People giving their lives to the Lord and putting their trust in God, and realizing that, but at the same time, there's a lot of, around that week, the Lord was doing some amazing things, but the most spiritual battle stuff that we faced was here in America, not in Honduras. It was during this week when the teachings were going on. There were some crazy spiritual battle things going on, and but it really, I left that week being like having a deeper feeling of like the spiritual realm is more interactive with our lives than I thought it was. But then I'm like, that means that the name of Jesus really has power, and seeing that. And that means that Jesus did raise from the dead, and this is true. And I left with a deeper understanding and deeper realization of this is true, and I'm seeing how it's really playing out. Keep going. So from there, they split the teams up again and gave us a week to go and practice the things that we've been teaching the whole summer so far. So this was right before we went to Dallas. We drove to Dallas, our team. You can keep going. And no staff went with us. The whole summer they had everything planned out, and then this week they're like, now go and practice it and do. So they gave us a name of a church and a number for a place we're supposed to be staying. Said call them an hour before you get there. We're driving. It's 9:30 at night. We're outside of Dallas. We call them. Oh yeah, we're the Forge team. Coming in. You're coming tonight? Yeah. Is that a problem? No. I just didn't know. Like, okay. So we had to figure out what we were doing, but it was so cool. Being like, Lord, lead us. Bring us places where we can minister, and then just going out. And then seeing him provide places we can go. So we went to the church, had fed the homeless, and we can keep going. We got to spend. I'll go back to the homeless thing in a minute. No, keep the picture there. I want to go to the next picture. Okay, yeah, good. So we also, the pastor from the church gave us some different people that needed help just with practical things. This lady, her husband was sick, and her mother was sick, and she didn't have any time to do lawn work. So we went to her house and we mowed her lawn and hacked some weeds, and then just got to spend some time with her. And hearing her testimony of all that was going on, and her looking at us and saying, "The Lord is faithful, the Lord is good, the Lord is true." And even after everything that's going on in her life, her encouraging us and her it really strengthening our faith. There were a lot of moments like that. You can keep going. This was us in the city the last day. We just took a team picture. Keep going. Okay, right here. So that lady in the corner, we met at the homeless shelter, when we were feeding the homeless, and she led us to another ministry that we got to hang out with them, rehab center, and then she invited the girls to a women's Bible study where they were able to share a testimony, and everything just kind of weaved and fit together so well in terms of we met this person, they led us here, God led us here, and then one of the biggest things was ministering to her family. Her husband, she was a single mom, and just ministering to her family. We all agreed if that was the only thing that we did that whole week, it would have been worth it. But there was so much more. Should go to the next picture. This is a couple pictures when we were leaving. I just took with them one more silly picture. Okay, so this was a team picture of all the 22 of us in the Rocky Mountains. We took a team picture with them. You can go to the next picture. One more. This was at the end of the whole experience, and they very much invested in each one of us in our relationship with God. And there was a lot of wisdom, there was a lot poured into us, but the biggest thing it kept teaching us is go to God. Strengthen your relationship with God personally. Go to His Word. Learn His Word. The last thing they told us when we left was, if anything, you are now responsible to know this book. And you have no excuse. You've been invested and you've been poured into. You have no excuse. You are responsible. And this wasn't a vocational training. It wasn't a missions training. The Honduras was just one part of it. It was very much a discipleship. How do you live the Christian life where God has put you? And how do you align yourself with what it means to be a Christian? Because honestly, what it means to be a Christian today is very polluted. And getting back to what it means to be a follower of Jesus, and just giving your life and realizing the state of our sin, and realizing we can't do it ourselves, and putting your trust in Jesus. And once you do that,
Could you explain that comment about how is being a Christian today polluted? I don't understand that.
I just see a lot of people who say they're Christians, but their lives aren't changed because having a the whole thing about being a Christian is being a follower of Jesus, having a relationship with Jesus Himself. And the Bible is His words to us, but it's not a religion of us following rules to get closer to God or to perform for God. What Christianity is we can't be good enough. We're sinners, and we've all fallen short of the glory of God, and we have no hope on ourselves. So Jesus came to us, and And when you experience that relationship with Jesus, when you know God intimately, when you have a personal relationship with him, and when you are known by him, you're not satisfied with the way things are or the way you used to be. And I think a lot of people say they're Christians and say the sinner's prayer. Oh, I believe in Jesus for fire insurance, or as their savior. Of I believe in Jesus as my savior, but he's not just. Jesus isn't just a savior; he's your Lord also, and it's he saves us, but he gives us something to live for. He gives me something more, and that actually perfectly leads into what next thing I was going to say of what now. I keep asking myself that question. Spoiler alert. But God keeps giving me opportunities to continue to pursue missions work and unique ministry stuff. So I have an opportunity to go back to Honduras this December for a week to hang out with the Micah boys and the community around there, to do VBSs and teach and just spend time hanging out with those boys. And next summer, there's a man I met this summer who he's a speaker for Forge, and he organizes a lot of conferences and events, and he wants me to come with him, and he's doing a missions program where doing youth conferences and events, and he wants people to come with them and put them on and teach and stuff like that. And so I may be able to do that. But I'm going to share one or two more stories really quick. When driving outside of the city to get to the Micah Project, we drove through a dump, or past a dump, and the lady told us that people live there and they go through the trash to collect recyclables, and they live off of that, a couple dollars a day. Whatever they can get from recyclables, that's what they live off of. And coming back into the city, the windows were down, the stench was just horrible. And everyone was like, oh, I'll close the windows, close the windows. And I just had a moment of just sit back and breathe it in and never forget what that smell is. And I guess, Uncle Dave, what I'm kind of saying is that when you know Jesus and you have a personal relationship with him, you want to share it with others. And you're not satisfied with just having it yourself. And because having that relationship with Jesus, it's awesome. And he gives life, really. He said he came to give life and give us life more abundantly. And another thing that really hit me was one of the messages. Each message, this binder was from the messages, notes from all the classes, and lots of writing notes. And each message was really awesome. But I wanted to share one specifically by Mick Beach, who is a pastor, used to be a missionary, and he had us stand up. He had us all stand up, and you know what? Why don't we do it now? So I'll stand up. I might not get the numbers exactly right, but so this half stay standing, this half sit down. Just exercise. So he is like, this represents the world. This side represents the world that has the opportunity for Jesus, that has heard the gospel, that there's churches, that there's teaching, that people hear the gospel. This side is the places that don't. And the realization, you guys can sit down, thank you. The realization that I never thought there were places in the world that, like, sure there are some places, but like, there are a lot of places that have never been reached for the gospel. Lots of places. There are villages and tribes all over the world that have never even heard the gospel or anything relating to. Some people have never even had contact with the outside world. There are still tribes in the world that have never had a contact from the outside world. But there are also places that nobody's gone to share the gospel because there's only a couple hundred people who speak their language. And a missionary I met this summer to Papua New Guinea, there's this mountain range with every 50 miles there's another language. And they need people to go in. It's about a 10-year process to learn the language, translate, and give them a written language because they only have a spoken language. Give them a written language, teach them to read and write, then you can translate the Bible, then you can share the gospel with them. So there's two reasons why there are places that haven't heard about Jesus. One of them is because it's hard to get there, and it's difficult, it takes sacrifice, you have to go and spend your time. The other is because it's dangerous and Christians aren't welcome. A lot of the Muslim world is that way. Most of the Muslim world, parts of the Middle East and lots of places, they've heard Jesus before, they've heard the name, they've read Jesus in the Quran, but it's not who Jesus really is. They just think he's another prophet, and he didn't say he was another prophet. He said he was God. And so that really disturbed me, just the realization of that. And so I'm praying a lot. I've been having dreams and different things like that, and just why doesn't this? I want to help people. I want to be there with them when they're hurting. I don't always know what to do, but I've always been someone when I hear a siren, like I just want to be there. Like I just want to be there and help people. But the biggest thing that drives me is that I want people to know Jesus and what he's done for me and what he's done for all of us. And so I'm praying about how to continue to do that. So I love it for you guys to keep walking with me and supporting me and praying with me in terms of how can I keep doing that. But I wanted to challenge each and every one of you to ask God, what does God have for you in terms of where you are? And he came to change things. He came to so that things wouldn't be the same. And if you have your faith in Jesus, then he wants you to continue to grow deeper. And so I want to do just say a prayer, and I want to thank you guys so much for allowing me to go this summer, for supporting me, for helping me, because this summer was not just about me, and it wasn't. This goes back to the whole reason of I had an awesome time. I love meeting people. I had an awesome time. I love traveling. I do. I just love meeting people. I love just that experience and not knowing what's happening, figuring things out. I very much enjoy that, but that's not the thing that drives me is my relationship with Jesus and wanting to continue to share that message with others. One more story. Before I even got there this summer, when I was getting on the train, I had an incredible feeling because I knew that I was going out to Denver, but you guys were supporting me. You guys were praying for me. You guys allowed me to go, and it was an incredible feeling being like, I'm going, but I'm representing my church. And I spent over about 38 hours on the train going out there. So get to talk to really interesting people. Got to share the Lord with like 5 different people, just sitting next to them for 7 hours. And each conversation was good, had good conversations with people, but there was no real response until 20 minutes, the last 20 minutes on the train. I was talking to somebody for 3 hours, just getting to know them. What they were doing, who they were, their life story, just getting to know them. And I'm always asking God, do you want me to share the gospel with this person or what? But a lot of times I'm very talkative. I like talking with people, getting to know them. What's your story, whatever. And the last 20 minutes, God was like, okay, share a meeting with them. So I had an opportunity, and I started sharing the gospel with him. And his perplexion changed, and he just got quiet. He started listening, and he started asking questions. And the train stopped and went back and went forward, and I have no idea why, but it gave me more time to talk with him about Jesus. And I was able to give him a Bible, one of those pocket Bibles from the shelf off there. I grabbed a stack of them to give to people on the plane and stuff like that. And I got off the train, and this guy catches me. He goes, "How'd you do that?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I was sitting in front of you, and I always try to share my faith, but how did you do that? I've never had a response like that. I've never had somebody really listen and really start to catch what you're saying." And he's like, "How did you do that?" I'm like, "I don't know." He goes, "I heard you starting to share the gospel, and I started praying for you." Mm-hmm. And it was so awesome because the Lord brought another believer, sat him down right in front of me. And as he was praying for me as I was sharing the gospel with that other man. And that's what it's all about. So, dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your work and your love for us, God. We thank you for the unique experiences and things I was able to go through this summer, and for this time that I was able to just share a little snippet of what it was. But I pray that you would continue to work, you would continue to move, you would continue to do what you do best in changing our hearts and helping us to experience life with you better, Lord, and to prepare us for eternity, God. I pray, Lord Jesus, that you would be with us as we go on the rest of this day, and in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you.